Hello everyone, this is FDVs with Direg, here to bring you another episode of Learn to Play, where we take Bronze League heroes and turn them into Silver League villains. We are doing the basics of Protoss production today, and I will say that I sort of botched my last episode with the Zerg production. Rather, I didn't botch it, I just did not nearly explain as well as I could have. But now we are on home turf with my home race, Protoss. And so we will do a much better job, or I will do a much better job. It's the royal we. I am actually a prince from Nigeria. I need some help with $1 million I have in foreign banks. If you'll just send me a blank check that you've signed, we'll be able to take care of that, and I will give you a tidy 80% of the profits. And if you believe that, I'll have some oceanfront property in Arizona for you. Anyway, getting back to what we're actually supposed to be talking about, obviously the first step to production is economy. So I'm going to be working on what we did in that first one, producing probes, producing pylons, chrono boosting, and mouse freezing. Wow, you'd be amazed at how often this happens to me in 1v1 ladder matches, that my mouse just freezes up. And so yeah, I've gotten really good at just all of a sudden using the arrow keys to have to do things. Not too important, I doubt any of you care. We will be doing a 1 gateway expand today, very good. The opening of choice versus Terran, in my opinion. Obviously less grill, not nearly as good, versus Protoss or versus Zerg, as both of them have much more aggressive options early on. But I happen to love having this great economy. I used to do this versus Protoss, but then, yeah, all of a sudden it just became sort of a one base all-in all the time, and that became just impossible to do. We are going to be taking that base, putting a pylon down there, not rallying, queuing, or putting them all together in a control group, and we will be starting the production of our very first Zealot. It's important to get this initial Zealot out. You're going to want Zealots because Zealots are good. If there was some sort of early aggression, some sort of 2 racks pressure coming, we would need the Zealot to help us defend it, especially since we took that early expansion. Now, one thing to note is that because just of how it works, we are going to be getting a pylon almost immediately after we throw down our cyber core. We want to take gas first because everything that comes out of a cyber core, everything we're going to be doing from now on is going to require gas. When you do a 1 gateway expand as well, you're going to want to take that gas as early as possible. Really should bring this down here, but if there was early aggression coming, I still have the opportunity to cancel that, so there's no real reason for me to put my Zealot at risk yet. Now that I cannot cancel that unless I wanted to, I really should bring my Zealot down there. Cyber core is not done. We'll start to add on our gateway count. Immediately just going to be grabbing that warp gate. Warp gate is extremely important to Protoss production. Never, ever, under any circumstances, fail to get warp gate. After our initial Zealot, we're going to be going for a Stalker. Also very important to get. You want to get a Zealot and a Stalker out first. There are some variations to that. For example, if you go Forge Fast Expand, you might want to go Zealot, then Sentry, so that you have force fields. But I prefer Zealot Stalker. You'll notice I've taken another gateway. I'm going to be throwing down my tech choice now. As a general rule, you can support 3 warp gates and 1 tech choice off of each base. Plus upgrades, of course. That is a general rule. Really, you're going to want, say, 3 gateways and a robo, or 3 gateways and a stargate off 1 base. Then you'll want off 2 base, say, 2 robos or 2 stargates, and up to like 6 or 7 gateways, or warp gates rather. You don't actually want to have gateways at that point. It's very bad. You'll notice I am immediately going to be going for a double forge. This is my personal preference. I prefer to have a lot more forges than I prefer to have a higher upgrade count and a lower unit count. It's just, again, personal preference. It does have its weaknesses, it does have its advantages. It's just my style of playing Protoss. Because of that, I'm going to take my gases both at the same time. Got our warp gate done. Immediately going to be putting those down. Going to be taking down some pylons because all Protoss units take tons of supply. There's only 2 units that Protoss has, which cost 1 supply, and that's the probe and the observer. We do have some gas banked, so I won't be immediately putting probes into gas. I will instead be getting my robotics facility so we can begin Colossus production. Very important thing to have. We will need to start getting that gas though. Producing some units. I do have higher gas, so I'm going to get some sentries. Sentries are very good. You know, I'll have my force fields, I'll have a guardian shield, and I will have hallucination now in HOTS. You just get that for free. Very nice thing to have. You want to be spending your chrono boost into your upgrade production because upgrades are fantastic. Always remember to also get at least 2 observers. Very important. We're going to start adding on our gateway count and our pylons. We will talk more about pylon placement in base management. I'm not totally concerned about it currently. Going to begin chrono boosting out thermal lance, very important to do. We will have pretty much fast enough mineral production that I won't be delaying my Colossus too much, and frankly thermal lance, especially versus Terran, is very important. Otherwise they'll just stim up to your Colossus and kill them. Now one thing here, I could have gotten my Twilight Council a little sooner. I should have gotten it a little sooner. We will not be immediately going to get to keep chrono boosting that out. I will be though getting one more robotics facility down, rallying my probe back to work, turning all of these to warp gates. Once these are done, we'll immediately start 2-2, warping in some more zealots, sending my observer across the map. You're not going to want a whole lot of stalkers. They're not that great in maxed battles, and you are noticing right now that I am having trouble keeping up production constantly off of all of these things along with my upgrades. That is alright. It is much better to have it's much better to have gateways sit idle than it is to have not enough. If you have a choice, always go for more. It's just the much better way to play. Because then all of a sudden, if something happens and I just miss macro for a bit, I'm not that hurt. You'll see I'll be able to just be like, oh, oop, missed my macro. Better just place zealots down. I've got idle, it's just fine. Anyways, that is roughly the basics of Protoss production. Hope you have enjoyed, hope you've learned something, and I hope you have a wonderful